I would not call this an investment. But what this is closer to, I mean, the upshot here is so massive that it's sort of like going into the casino.
I love games. This was like the best game I've ever played in my life. Everyone played their roles really well. And there's a lot of like backstabbing and double dealing.
A reasonable, call it very high risk bet. But that's half of it. That's not why I'm investing in it.
We now have the first batch of the Wall Street Wildlife Community Portfolio. You guys have nominated, you've voted, we've listened, and there's a top 5 stocks that we are going to buy live on the show today. For an advertising-free version of the show, check out patreon.com/Wall Street Wildlife. Welcome to the Deep Investing Jungle with your hosts, Luke the Badger Hallard and Christoph the Monkey Pikarski. This week, Christoph has added his position in Genius Group. I have questions. He also bought EOS calls unexpectedly. What could go wrong? What could go right? Plus, we now have the first batch of the Wall Street Wildlife Community Portfolio. You guys have nominated, you've voted, we've listened, and there's a top 5 stocks that we are going to buy live on the show today to get the community portfolio started. And if this goes well, it's going to beat both Badger and Monkey in year 3 of King of the Jungle.
Live today, Badge. It's a huge day for the Wall Street Wildlife Beasties.
Don't tell us which. Is there anything like you're going to hit the buy button on these 5 stocks? Are there any that you're not feeling good about buying?
Yes, there are some I'm not feeling good about, and it's going to be painful to press this buy button because it's my bananas technically. But no, I mean, I'm sure we'll divvy up the bananas later. But yes, it's weird. It'll be weird buying something you don't think you should be buying.
The wisdom of the crowds. I think we got some good choices. I'm a bit negative on one, but I think we got some good picks here.
Okay, yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited that for all the reasons we talk about so often, that our community is really coming together. And you know what? I guess we might as well just roll right into it, right? Skip the chit chat for later. I was really surprised by the number of votes we got. I mean, it was a very active voting community, right? They just kept coming in, and as we talked about too, the wisdom of the crowds, the more you have, the higher the correlation to that crowd-like effect. So I'm really digging that. Good job, beasties.
And this is just month 1. So we're buying 5 stocks to get the portfolio started. Oh, we did have an interesting debate actually in the community. So we got our top 5 names. Should we equal weight the allocations? Like it's $500 we're going to invest, or should we weight the allocation to the votes? And we got some good inputs. I think the majority, and I kind of like this idea myself, the majority rule was we're going to equal weight these 5.
Right. And I think the reason it was a little bit up for debate is because when I'm looking at the tally, one of these was far and above the greatest vote getter. And so there is this thought that, well, why shouldn't that one get a little bit more exposure than, say, the one that ended up in number 5, which got almost 75% fewer votes, give or take. But I think the community is right on this one. The portfolio management allocation stuff should happen over time and later. For now, we just want to, I mean, if they're all 5 good candidates, right, then you're trying to be a little smarter or a little bit more, cute. You're getting cute to some extent if you're managing right from the get-go. So, yeah, I'm cool with the equal weight stuff.
Should we go to that now, or do you want to tell me about your Genius investment in Genius Group so I can rip the shit out of that?
No, okay. You ripped me a new one about Genius in the back half of the show.
Okay.
Let's keep rolling with the portfolio, because this is the big news, right? This is a big day for us today.
It is. It's cool. So here are the nominations. I think that's like 16, eyeballing it, 16 options that were put forward by the community. And yeah, the far and away winner is a Badger stock. They like my Novo Nordisk. It got 15 first choice votes and 8 second choice votes to give it a total score of 38, which is actually like meaningful if you can't see the graphic. Like second place had a total score of 29. So that's like, yeah, there's significantly more conviction in Novo Nordisk than the second idea.
Yes, and curiously, from Monkey's side of things, Novo Nordisk was my go-to stock that I keep showing charts about. We've done it 2 or 3 times now, and I was making one point about it from a technical standpoint, which is that the momentum is down, and it's down, and it's down severely. And my point continues to be, when you have a $208 billion stock like this, you have all kinds of institutions, you have all kinds of quants with their eyes on this, pension funds and so on and so forth. And if the momentum is straight down, then you have better know way more than basically hundreds of billions of dollars of invested money. Do we really know? Do we really, do you, the individual retail investor, really know more than all these quants that are selling this thing massively? And my answer is, in this particular instance, is I doubt it. And so I've been kind of saying, I mean, I've started following this story too, by the way, which we should talk about. But I'm saying this is a case where the retail investor is probably making an error by buying too soon.
Okay, I disagree. I've owned it for a little while now. I've added quite recently. I'm taking a long-term view. I kind of don't mind what it does over the next year. Maybe the next year is like where your momentum and inflection will turn. Who knows? But like long-term, I feel like this is a great stock. Should we say like who nominated the stock as we go through these 5?
I don't think that matters. Our community nominated the stocks, and it's the voting that counts. So you want to talk? So let's talk about Novo. And could I actually lead with a question and you sort of answer this? I've now, I think, done my due diligence in terms of educating myself about the main issue, right? And I think what it comes down to, tell me how this sounds. Like the bull case is like they discovered and made this killer drug, right? Or drug class. And then, but there were shortages because it was so effective. And so along come all the copycats and all the ways that the patent rights weren't upheld. And ironically, the company that invented this crazy blockbuster is lost half of its market cap because of all these other dynamics. That's how I kind of understand the context. My question is why, what makes the bull case say now that all these issues that's circling around it, that they're going to be solved or overcome, or that they won't affect Novo going forward?
They made some really clear execution errors in terms of, like, they were too successful with this drug. They weren't ready to manufacture it at the scale that was needed. And clearly there was enormous demand for this category of drugs. So they got classified in a particular way that allowed like other companies to basically ignore the patent that Novo Nordisk had and then just go and manufacture their own version, sort of emergency use kind of authorizations in different ways. And they also, they screwed up big time because I think they forgot to somehow renew one of their patents in Canada. So they actually lost the market then. So some serious operational screw ups. And there's now, as of literally weeks ago, a whole new board of directors, change of leadership. So, the new leadership have to prove themselves. But one thing the company is doing is it's really on the front foot now and being proactive about building the manufacturing pipeline for its oral weight loss drugs. Because these are going to come to market pretty soon. They're in the final sets of trials to get approved for distribution. And the demand for basically tablet versions of Ozempic is going to be much higher than the demand for injectable versions, because like some people are scared of needles, and it's more convenient, frankly. So yeah, if they can get this stuff out at scale, they're going to clean up. And it is like a duopoly, like those Novo and Eli Lilly, their main competitor. And I do think like Eli Lilly is objectively like the stronger company. Also have like the domestic manufacturing footprint, which in a world of tariffs might be advantageous. But I think that's reflected in the valuations. Like Novo Nordisk is actually relatively cheap. And on top of everything else, like it pays a nice dividend. I think it's a decent investment. And I'm hoping, like I'm expecting, they've learned the lesson of the mistakes that have been made and they won't repeat those. If they repeat the mistakes, then obviously like the company is screwed.
All right. Could I that sounds lovely. Riddle me this. I trust that the entire world's medical community and everybody and their, monkey's uncle is trying to find ways to profit off this thing. And you could make these compounds that are sort of like you say similar enough, and you kind of tweak them a little bit, and you add a compound, you add some extra chemicals to the thing. So now the patent is no longer in play because the competing company says, look, it's a new thing. And basically like, pirating and why are we not scared basically that even with the patents, even with operational fixes for a company that's $210 billion market cap and all these competitors basically like thinking about ways to rip this off. And this is kind of, as far as I understand, Novo's one-trick pony.
They got a whole bunch of diabetes medications, but this is like a key part.
Right, this is the key, right?
Yeah.
That why are you not more scared that this is going to be, in a sense, commoditized, and from a $210 billion market cap, that it's a long, long, long way down still?
Its competitor, Eli Lilly, don't forget, he's like a $700 billion market cap. Did I completely make that up? Hang on a sec. Hang on. Eli Lilly.
Well, I'm actually not even worrying about them. I'm thinking about all the hundreds of other little guys that are just gonna,
Sure. Okay.
When you walk through a market in whatever, and you have the rip off headphones and rip off whatever.
It's okay. Look, all right. So I did want to fact check myself. Eli Lilly is $1 trillion company now. Looks like they've just crossed that thing in the last couple of days, maybe. Because this market is so massive, right? There will, unless there are such severe side effects with these medications that they're just not adopted by folk who want them, the untapped market for this stuff, because it's been like there's demand, but they've been expensive drugs up until now, and recent negotiations between the Republican administration and these firms is getting like the cost of these drugs down to a level that most people can afford them. And so, and it's the order of, it was like $1,000 a month, that kind of number. I think now the number, if you might not be on the best version of the drug, but the number's down to more like a couple of $100 a month. Now, something affordable. And if you want to lose weight, or if you have a problem with, I don't know, like impulse control or addiction to your smartphone or gambling or alcohol, stuff that might be wrecking your life, these drugs seem to be like a key to the solution. So like, who ain't going to want that, even if it comes with some fairly minor side effects?
Yeah, although Badge, this is funny. Sorry, it's just timely. Mrs. Monkey and I were talking about this generally just yesterday, because we were curious. We were dinner talk, right? Dinner talk at the Monkey household. Like, what's up with this Ozempic stuff? She reported to me that lady parts get severely affected, and not for the better, due to this. Or maybe this is the new research coming in, and it's really not that great. And maybe there are, like you were saying, these as yet to be discovered, no good side effects. All of which is to say, I find it fascinating that has become this magic cure, right? All of a sudden it's going to cure everything. Ironically, this morning shares are down 6.5% right now because it turns out the Alzheimer's research came in no better than the placebo. So not conclusive endpoint. But anyway, anytime it's the kind of critique you always give me, right? Like, oh, magic drugs solving everything, right? And I'm here weirdly skeptical, saying there's got to be spoken of downsides to this kind of thing. Like, how many times do you really discover magic beans?
Well, these aren't like brand new drugs as well. We're probably going too deep on this for a community conversation, but these aren't like brand new drugs. Like Novo Nordisk had some version of this for diabetes for a long time, for like decades. And then these GLP-1s emerged from that research. So actually they're relatively well understood. And yeah, there are side effects, but if you're a diabetic or if you're clinically obese, right, you might be correct to accept the side effects and the impact on your lady parts, or maybe your man parts, I don't know, and like nausea and whatever else you might get. Because you're like, well, I'm actually going to lose a ton of weight. And in the long term, that's going to correlate with like a longer, healthier life. And then, maybe I can wean myself off these drugs, albeit I think the general thing is that once you're on them, you're kind of on them for life. Anyway, yeah.
For the record, Badge,
yeah.
I just want to be on the record forever that Monkey prioritizes his monkey parts, and he would not want to mess with this business under any circumstances. So, here's the moment of truth. Monkey has transferred over the 500 bananas for the Wall Street Wildlife portfolio. Here it is. Oh, can't really. Here's the 500 bananas in Robinhood, and I am now going to press the button for NVO and see how many shares we get. And by the way, this is the one that Monkey is not happy, as you could tell, buying in the portfolio. I think the timing is still off, but it's not my call to make in this case. So here we go. 100 bananas. 100 bananas.
While you're bitching and moaning, press those buttons quietly, right? You can bitch and moan all you like, but our nominator, who's a well-known, renowned community member, we've just said we're not going to name people, and 15 other members of the Wall Street wildlife community made this their first choice. So suck it up, Monkey.
That's it. All right, kids. It's official. Wall Street Wildlife portfolio. Its first purchase ever was 2.249 shares. So 2.25, 2.25 shares of Novo Nordisk at the hot price of 44.45 bananas each.
Great. That comes to 100. Doesn't it?
Yep. And here's the official proof.
Very good. We'll take your word for it. Great. Good. All right. Now it wasn't a close second place, but in second place was a stock actually you and I both own and both really like. Actually, you brought it to my attention a couple of years ago. You were the first person in my circle to talk about it. This one is TransMedics. You want to tell us a bit about TransMedics?
Sure. We've talked about this one quite a bit. It's we both own it in our urban portfolios. I own it in the King of the Jungle portfolio as well. It's one of my favorite companies in terms of being aligned with both the business model and the fact that it saves lives. In essence, it's organ transplant company that helps the organs stay alive and call it fresher, better. But you soon realize that is only one piece of the puzzle. It's the logistic piece, getting the organs to where they need to go in a timely manner without all kinds of complications that involve travel and transport. That is the piece that TransMedics also set out to solve by basically creating their own transportation network, buying planes. There was a lot of hubbub about the capital expenditures involved in buying planes and return on invested capital with that stuff. But what it seems like to me is that they are, in a sense, kind of like a mini Intuitive Surgical. Like, you start small with a technological innovation, and then you build out the razor and blades model, and then you start kind of infiltrating into hospitals and how things are just done. And they are now on the cusp of expanding internationally, with Italy being the first European country to get involved. And then there's going to be further expansions involving kidneys, basically, are the next thing. So we're dealing with heart, lungs, liver, and then kidneys. And it's still a fairly small company in terms of market cap size, which is why Monkey really loves it. And management and everything about this company, I would say, is A-level excellence, despite the stock kind of being fairly volatile-ish.
Go hit that buy button while I chat about it. I like this one too, and they are doing good, interesting work. Like they're not just expanding the market for transplantation. Like they're enabling organ transplantation where it couldn't happen before. And previously, like transplant surgeons could only really do all their work like in the late afternoon or at night, because literally, the heart was on its way from the donor to their hospital so they could transplant it. It would take, if it went overnight, the organ would typically degrade too much and wouldn't be viable. But now TransMedics solution keeps hearts, lungs and livers viable for much longer, by literally, creating an artificial body for them to exist in where oxygenated blood is like flowing through them. And it means that, they can fly organs, they can overnight them. And then the transplant surgeon can kind of have it in his diary, show up at 9 a.m. whenever he starts work. And he's got 4 or 5 transplant patients lined up for the day, and the organs are all kind of sat there, or they're inbound and due to arrive within like the hour. And they can work like a more sensible day. So yeah, I think it's a really good technology. And our community likes this one as well, just because some of the numbers are quite strong. Revenue up 32% year over year in the most recent set of results. Gross margin expansion, operating margin expansion. So yeah, I like this one. It's a great company. This is actually one of the 2 companies I created like a sort of fun video for the kids in the extended family for, and said, do you want to buy TransMedics or do you want to buy Rocket Lab with the Christmas present money that Katrina and I are giving you?
Yeah, this is a great point. This is one of those companies where you feel like, as an investor, you learn so much, especially, you gain entrance into the world of surgery and the world of what physicians have to go through. And some of the graphics, I don't know, some people might be squeamish looking at organs, real pictures of organs. But I think for any young person, or anybody really, looking at the slide decks from TransMedics is so worthwhile, so worth your time. So check it out if you haven't yet. Badge, we are officially, the Wall Street Wildlife portfolio officially now owns 0.73 shares of TransMedics at an average cost of 136.61 bananas.
Awesome. Great stuff.
Good job, us.
Yeah, good job, us. It's nice having the ability to buy fractional shares. Like if you had a $500 portfolio and you wanted to buy 5 stocks, equal weighted, well, in the past, you wouldn't have been able to buy TransMedics then because it was too expensive. But now you can own like 3/4 of a share, which we now do.
Yeah, right. And the reason that's important is because we know the top resistance to investing or starting to make generational wealth is people saying, I don't have enough money, or I can't buy, no. You can open up your favorite brokerage, be it Robinhood, whatever. In this case, Robinhood, and you could buy $10 worth of TransMedics, and you'll feel so much better about having done so 10 years from now. Believe us.
And if somehow you're listening to us on this podcast at episode 108 and you still haven't like opened your investment account, just go and do that. Open the investment account and buy $10 worth of TransMedics, right? Why not? And then just fast following the story. Yeah.
Exactly. Why not? Why not do that?
Right.
We're broken records about this point, but I mean, this is the main thing.
Yeah. We'll loop back to this at the end because we had a suggestion from Sunil in our community that I want to kind of put out into the airwaves and see what people think. Anyway, for now, let's plow on through our top 5. So I'm going to intro this one again, but you're going to have to talk about it because I know not much about it. But in third place, also with 9 first choice votes, but just a slightly fewer second choice votes, was LMND, the insurer.
Goodness, I learned about Lemonade years and years ago because when it IPO'd around 2001, it was like at the peak of, mania. And since then, it cratered badly. But the idea of it was just the best. It's kind of the friendliest. It has the friendliest user interface to sell insurance using AI. So it's kind of, I think of it as the next generation digital native people who want to buy insurance, including home insurance, pet insurance, car insurance, and the more data that is collected by the AI sort of foundation, the better your rates and the better everything gets. I've always personally legitimately been impressed by the slick, the user interface. They go out of their way to make it appealing, buying insurance, to make buying insurance appealing. I don't know what your experience, Badge, over in the UK is like dealing with car insurance and house insurance, but it makes monkey stomach turn a little bit. Lemonade provides the user experience anyways so much better. But this last quarter, you could start seeing a major financial inflection point. So I think it's best. Let me read what the GPT says, because I asked it to, summarize it very concisely. Here's what Lemonade does. And I think the answer is pretty good. So I'll just read this from the GPT script. Lemonade is a full-stack AI-native insurer selling renters, homeowners, pet, car, and life policies in the US and EU via digital app with bots handling most underwriting, customer service claims, and a give-back model that donates leftover premiums to charities chosen by customers. That's a gimmick, whatever. The investment thesis hinges on operating leverage from this software-heavy model. In-force premium has passed $1.2 billion, with 2.9 million largely young customers. Revenues growing 35 to 40% year over year. Gross profit and gross margins are rising, and gross loss ratios have improved into the low 60s as pricing and risk models mature. That's basically how much money the insured gets to keep versus how much they have to pay out. But Lemonade still runs gap losses and depends on continuing to scale, refine underwriting, especially in car, and manage reinsurance to reach durable profitability. So from an investor's perspective, it's a high risk, high operating leverage growth play on AI disrupting personal insurance rather than the traditional steady cash cow insurer. So AI plus insurance, it's been a couple years now. And the numbers from everything I see, based especially on the last quarter, are really beginning to show that inflection point of profitability. And I'm excited. I'm really excited that Wall Street Wildlife chose this one. It's one Monkey actually was thinking of buying for the king of the jungle portfolio himself at one point, but I'm going to let the community have it.
It's cool. Yeah. Literally just while you were chatting, I was about to say, Lemonade isn't available in the UK, so I don't know much about it. But I Googled it, and they are. And literally, in the time it took you to kind of read us through that, I've got 2 more clicks, and I think I'm about to get an insurance quote. It was that easy. So, I need to get a verification code off my phone. But I think it's about to. I'm at the last stage where it asked me like 20 questions about my cat and my house and what my roof is made of. And I think I'm about to get a quote. That was pretty easy and pretty painless. So yeah, maybe I need to look into this one a bit better. I was never turned on to it. I just don't know why. Like, I guess because it's a fintech and it's not wise. So Yeah, I didn't immediately fall in love with it, but I should probably look at this one a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, this is, the people, there's some people that absolutely go nuts over this. One issue for investors is how much do you really want to know about insurance? Like, I mean, the insurance business is to me not the most exciting thing to, get, oh boy, I get to find out about insurance today. But when insurance is being, call it, disrupted with a company that has a really brilliant CEO and they seem to be doing everything right in terms of user, like branding. It kind of reminds me a little bit too of Robinhood, where for a while Robinhood had this nasty reputation. There's still a lot of sort of, now that I understand more about market stuff, there's still things behind the curtain that aren't great, but the user interface was just so much better than anything else.
Mhm.
We saw what happened with Robinhood stock. I mean, it just like exploded, like that coiled spring exploded massively. I kind of think Lemonade is setting itself up in a similar way with that brilliant user interface and popularity. And why use the last generation insurance platform when you get everything better with the new one? I mean, sometimes it feels a little obvious, but
Well, we are buying. We have no choice in the matter. But I think you're happy about this one. I don't know enough about it to be happy, but it seems like a decent idea. And actually, this is good because the reason while you're buying, the reason I was really keen to do the community portfolio when it was suggested was like this might surface ideas or remind me about stocks that I might have overlooked or just made not be on my radar. And if our community likes something, enough that like 20 people voted for it, then I should probably take a proper look. And so there we go. Straight away out of the gate, I've got a stock I should take a proper look at.
exactly. Side comment, because I think we've talked about this for a while, and I felt it so much in the last 6 months. We're now overloaded with information, right? I mean, that's kind of, it's like, how do you filter it all? You have GPTs and you have X and you have sell side analysts, buy side analysts. I mean, I love that maybe what our job as investors now in 2025 is like finding the smartest ways to filter that information and prioritize it. And via this kind of system, say, no, look, there's 100 people saying, look at Lemonade. That's a signal, right? And then we use our experience as investors to kind of, is there there? I love this process where it stands right now. So, Beasties, it's official. The Wall Street Wildlife portfolio now owns 1.37 shares of Lemonade at the fine bargain basement price of 72.92 bananas.
All right. If there's any stock in this top five I don't like, it's the next one. It's yours again, I'm afraid.
And what is that?
It is with 6 first choice and 6 second choice votes, PayPal.
Ooh. What's so fascinating about this is if you're following Monkey on the trading channel over on our Patreon, Monkey just lost his trousers and then some on PayPal because after the initial earnings call, it really seemed like this is now go time. So Monkey had shares and a June call on PayPal. Well, lo and behold, a couple days ago, the CEO went to a big conference and basically I think to his credit, was very, very honest and said, one, he's seeing increased slowdown in low and middle class spenders. That's bad. That's not just bad for PayPal, but that's just bad for the economy in general. And he also admitted that the technological turnaround, the integration of PayPal with all of the merchants, that the previous administration was so inept that it actually might take them longer than he thought. and that they address the top merchants. I think he said 15 to top 20% accounts first, but there's still a lot of work to go. And so the reason the earnings call was exciting in part was they're saying like, look, we're growing. We're on the up and up, and we're now integrating with OpenAI and the other model. I forget what it was, Anthropic or whatever it was, right? But PayPal is definitely now proactively getting its game on in terms of not just stagnating. Regardless, Monkey sold his position because it seems like the turnaround will just take longer than expected. And simultaneously, just for trading purposes, Monkey had so many better places for the bananas that he made the difficult decision to say, I'm going to buy back later when the turnaround is now sort of more fully in swing. We now are our community by voting for PayPal is saying, you know what? It's still massively undervalued. And I agree with that because PayPal is gushing cash flow. It just instigated dividends and it's buying back its company at a rate that is actually quite staggering. So I don't think there's any debate that this company on pure financial fundamentals is undervalued. The only question is, when are we going to get that major inflection point? And Monkey was betting that's going to be sooner than later. Changed his mind. Our community is saying, no, we want the undervalued, financially sound company now, and we're willing to wait. That's how I read the situation.
All right. Very good. Go. I'm bearish on this. I just don't like the company based on my own personal experience of it. Go be doing that buying while I'm chatting now. Putting aside like my personal gripes about the company, let's just pick out some of the innovations that our nominator suggested. And a couple of these do catch my eye as quite interesting. So AI-powered smart receipts, like that's pretty cool. That makes sense. Fast lane checkout, like personally, I think I prefer like Adyen and solutions like that are built like bespoke from the ground up. Agentic AI commerce though, and that, like PayPal could have legs there because, when you come back to us, you can probably remind us about the nuance of that OpenAI deal. I think the announcement was like PayPal being integrated into OpenAI so that your agent, when you tell it to go and, find me like some new light bulbs for my office and you show a picture of like the blown bulb, then it can go and research, figure out what that thing is. The agent on your behalf can like find the best deal and then it can actually do the purchase and it's integrated with your PayPal. So it can actually, spend money from your wallet. Presumably we're like a, final authorization from you to say like, yeah, go.
And this is kind of up your alley too, Badge. They also announced integration with Google and their ads model. That happened early in September and the stock kind of shot up on that and then again drifted down.
Yep.
But even without fully understanding, call it the nitty gritty of how, I'm sure that relationship is very, very complex. To Monkey's simple brain, all I need to know is that Google, as the top gorilla in the jungle, has its say in who it wants to partner with. And the fact that PayPal and Google are going to sort of integrate their forces and say, if there's an ad, there's a way for merchants to profit from it, and PayPal is going to be the buyer button of choice. And obviously this is beneficial for both parties. For that kind of deal to happen between two monoliths, to me, is a huge vote of confidence. Then it's just about the timing and how long it'll take to kind of spread through the ecosystem of sorts. And you as a major Google shareholder and advocate, right? You might ask, well, what? It's an interesting position it puts you in. You love Google, they're amazing, and they're for all the partners they could have had, they chose this company that you're like, I don't like it. Do they know more than you, right? Do they understand the company better than you do, at least in this segment? I'm saying, yeah, obviously.
Okay, good. We own some PayPal. How much do we buy?
Yes, we do. We own exactly 1.66 shares of PayPal at the literal basic price of 60.14 bananas because this thing has caused a lot of pain for many investors since 2001, including yours truly over the 2 months that he owned it.
All right. And then to round out our top five with 3 first choice votes and 5 second choice votes, we have the trade desk, ticker TTD. I used to own this one, and I no longer do, but I'm not necessarily bearish on the company. I think it's a decent pick. It's sort of complex what they do, but to try and make it simple, like when you open a web page on your computer or on your phone and you see adverts, in most of the time, because they're one of the dominant players, the trade desk, they were involved in the deciding which advert you would see. And you can imagine that, like, there's a lot of sort of privacy, important, like, private information about the things I'm interested in based on, the Reddit sites I look at, the Reddits and the other things I've bought and stuff I'm researching, and maybe, just things that my eyes seem to linger on a bit longer. Like the internet knows the stuff you're interested in probably better than you do. And so your preferences, the trade desk, and it's a demand side platform. The trade desk representing, like, the agencies that are buying ad space. There's an auction takes place with the supply side platforms, and there's a whole bunch of those. Albeit the trade desk now sits on both sides as well sometimes. And then between these sort of two sides, an auction takes place that decides which adverts I see. And this is like the backbone of how, like, pretty much all content on the internet monetized, like advertising. And at the moment, like, the dominant player is Alphabet, and to a lesser extent, like Meta, when you see adverts on their sites, like, that's their own advertising solutions kicking in. When you're on Google, Google powers most of the advertising on the entire internet. But if you want to come outside what's termed the walled garden of those sites, and you're an advertiser or you want to buy ad space, then using companies like the trade desk helps you get, like, a good deal. Either, you sell your ad to the right places and you get, like, a good return on the ad, or you sell, like, the space you have on the website and you get, like, good advertisers that pay you, like, a nice amount of money. So, like or loathe advertising, like, it's one of the biggest businesses in the world, and the trade desk are a key player. So I think it's a fitting. It deserves its place in our top 5.
This is one of those companies that Monkey has owned and not owned and studied for years. And it's a little humbling to admit that I don't think I fully understand, like, in that deep down bones level, why TTD has a moat that won't somehow be, encroached on. And this is now, in this moment, you I think now know that I have a fairly increased skepticism about what I would call software AI-ish adjacent plays. And any time I read or hear the what this company does, I'm like, yep, great, awesome. And then I hear, right, and Amazon wants a part of this, and what company doesn't want a chunk of this, and I cannot deep down explain to anyone why this won't be disrupted.
I got out of this stock. I did pretty well, actually, with my timing. I got out like a month before it really started to nosedive, and then from peak, like the I don't know the valuation, but, like, the stock price got to a peak of like $39 in December 2024. Sorry, no, that's not correct. It got to a peak of $139, and now it's $39. So you got, like, owned if you owned this stock over the last 12 months. Like I say, I got out with my tail between my legs because, like, the same thing. Like, I could see how, like, I say, really, for me, like, agentic commerce and AI was really going to disrupt the advertising industry. And to me, in my mind, like, the companies that were positioned to benefit from that are, like, the Alphabets and the walled gardens. And like the rest of advertising is going to have big problems.
Exactly. So here's my challenge to our Wall Street wildlife community. I'm talking to you, beasties, right now. I have a suspicion that the reason our community nominated TTD is out of some kind of anchoring biases revolving price. That they're saying, oh, look, it used to be this high and it was this great company, always expensive. It is an excellent company. But now, look, it's about $40 per share and it used to be, so much higher that we want to buy it now. And I'm saying, careful, beasties, because of exactly what I'm saying. I can't, for myself, explain why this won't be disrupted. Especially if Amazon, like I keep going, if Amazon wants a piece of your pie, oh, they're going to get a piece of your pie, and this is my direct challenge to our beasties. Can somebody please on our Patreon school Monkey why TTD will in fact successfully fend off the attacking gorillas and why they do have a moat and why they will in fact end up safe. Thank you. Please and thank you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting on that point. But I think maybe just to pull out a few sentences from our community nominators nomination of the TTD. 20% plus revenue growth, strong margins, sticky client base with 95% retention rate. So these are good numbers. 20% growth isn't like setting the world on fire, but when you are like, the big dog in, outside of the walled gardens, and they were a very big company, like that's good revenue growth if you can keep it up. And, revenue retention of 95%, I guess that's good. Like maybe you might want to see that higher. I think about a different number, which is dollar-based net retention. And I don't know what that is for the trade desk. But if dollar-based net retention is like north of 110, 120%, that would be a good sign that advertisers are spending more. I don't know what it is though. Maybe, that's my request. The community tell us about the Dougner for TTD as well.
Yes. So Monkey's on the record for saying that we now own 2.55 shares of TTD at the price of $39.13, and unsolicited Monkey's unsolicited opinion is that this is a mistake, and that in fact the companies that got 6 and 7 votes, it was Rubric and was it Credo?
Yeah.
That those would have been the better portfolio buys, cybersecurity.
Be careful. Like, don't put your finger on the scale, right? Because the community portfolio, if it just does like stuff you and I like, it's not going to outperform us, right?
Well, that's true.
The community, everything we said about the wisdom of crowds isn't BS. Like that holds up. I'm not going to take like a strong, like bear bull position on the trade desk, but it is at a knockdown valuation. It's well established. It's got like customers that are very embedded with it and been using it for, many, many years. And it does have a phenomenal leader in Jeff Green, I think is the guy's name. So look, this could be, it's not even like a turnaround play. It's just like weathering the storm of investor sentiment right now. And I don't know my trade desk history, but I think it does have a history of having like massive drawdowns in the past and then recovering. So like, good on you, community portfolio. Keep doing stuff that Christoph don't like, because like that's how you're going to beat us. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm being a little cheeky. I'm offering my opinion because I think it makes things interesting. And if some rotten bananas come my way and all of a sudden Monkey turns villain Monkey, I'll play the role of villain Monkey for a little while. Just, I think this is how good engagement comes from. I'm on a record for saying I like 3 of these stocks. I think 2 are not going to be great. I hope I'm proven wrong, and I hope that, in fact, as you said, the wisdom of the crowd prevails, and that all of these go gangbusters.
Totally. Yeah. Great. I also like a different 3 to you. So yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. It's official. We now own all 5 of the top vote getters: Novo Nordisk, TransMedics, Lemonade, PayPal, and the Trade Desk.
Superb. Now we'll be sticking those on our like up-to-date live tracker, and we'll have to do a bit of engineering to get that set up. But once we have, we'll stick a link on the Patreon, which you can find at wallstreetwildlife.com. So you can follow along in real time and see how the jungle, the community portfolio, is stacking up against the badger and the monkey portfolios. But this isn't the end of it. This is just month 1. We've now got our 5 first holdings. We're then going to have in December, like a whole new batch of nominations. And if people want to nominate the same stocks again, cool, do it. If you want to nominate stuff that didn't make the cut, do it. If you want to nominate a brand new idea, do it. We'll vote on it, and then we'll be buying 1 stock a month now for the next 11 months. And then that'll take us up to the end of year 3, kind of the first year for the community portfolio, but year 3 for us. By that point, I'll own 16 different things. And then maybe as we get a bit closer to having more than 10, we might start to introduce a process where the community can also vote on selling, adding, trimming, doing like portfolio management, essentially. But we'll cross that when we come to it. We don't need to overcomplicate it right now. Let's just build the portfolio to start with.
Yep. Really great start. Solid community engagement, good back and forths. I'm really digging this process. So
yeah,
good job, beasties.
Great. So you want to know what I'm not digging?
I have a suspicion I know what you're not digging, given the frowny, sharp claws I'm spotting. But go ahead, tell us, what are you not digging?
Yeah, Genius Group. What the heck? Like, you sort of sprung this on me last week in episode 107. And I literally had like the opportunity to do like one quick Google as to what even this thing is. Like ed tech, education technology in 2025. You heard of this thing AI, right? What the hell? What are you even playing at considering GNS?
Okay, right. And I think your fundamental question is, are you really investing in this because of the business, or are you investing it mostly for, call it the shenanigans? And the honest answer is that I would never have invested in this as a business standalone, not in a million years. First of all, because it's a tiny, tiny micro cap. It's like $50 million. So I just wouldn't touch it. What is it? It's it's kind of a weird it's trying to become a platform that teaches people how to live in the AI world by offering courses and conferences, and it's very Bitcoin centered. And it's saying there's enough, call it enough interest for people to want to go outside the usual mainstream way of living or thinking about finance and entrepreneurship, and they're going to educate you, right? And in order to do that, they're basically kind of a real estate company where they're kind of building, they're building these, call it Bitcoin cities. I believe the first one is in Bali. Okay.
So just think of it. If you're not on the YouTubes, like the faces I'm making right now are like, keep digging. Like, what the hell is this rubbish?
Yeah. Well, it's okay to be skeptical, Badge. When Monkey makes the big bucks, we'll paste a photo of your frown.
They're building a Bitcoin university in Bali. What the?
Think of it. No. Think of it this way. They're building resorts. All right. And they're designing these resorts in a place like Bali, right? Where all these like-minded, call it Bitcoin enthusiasts, gather to learn how to be smarter Bitcoiners and next level AI users. And I actually support, as an educator, believe it or not, I'm actually buying this. This is not like what's weird to me. I think the old education models are completely dead dinosaurs. And if you have a forward-thinking entrepreneur that says, oh, what if we actually educated people in a fun way, in a cooler, more advanced AI-centric way, and we we kind of build cool hotels in a place like Bali where people actually want to go to, right? And then our revenue comes from both the education and the, call it, hospitality industry, that this is going to be a decent enough business, just kind of like ground level. It's also acts a little bit as a Bitcoin treasury company. So if Bitcoin goes up, stock going to go up. Bitcoin goes down, stock kind of goes down. And I like that too.
Again, if you're on the YouTubes, my face hasn't changed. This is like the peak of Bitcoin, of like crypto buffoonery. This is absolute garbage.
Yeah, I said I would not invest in this based on this alone. I'm just saying, I think there's enough here that makes it a reasonable, call it, very high risk bet. But that's half of it. That's not why I'm investing in it. I'm investing in this because since I mentioned it to you last week, these guys have been collecting data for over 3 years that some hedge funds targeted Genius Group, GNS, deliberately because it is vulnerable. For the reasons maybe, your facial expression suggests, right? You don't think it's a great business. So the big hedge funds say, okay, we're actually going to just drive it down to zero because we can. Same stuff as in GameStop, right? Bad business model, just add the shorts until it collapses from the shorts. But the issue here, and this is why I actually care, and the more I get involved in this badge, the more I find myself really, really genuinely caring, is it is now, I would say with 99% certain, that the methods used by the hedge funds to short this thing are actually illegal. They're illegal.
So what? Right? How does that help you as an investor?
Because at some point, Badge, this is why GameStop was a successful kind of counter movement and counter revolution of sorts. This is not about Genius Group. This is about them being the guys, the David, exposing massive corruption that has actually incurred massive financial losses on many people, and that there's enough people here saying we're going to fight the corruption. And because of the structural setup, these, call it massive hedge funds, owe a massive amounts of shares that they literally created out of thin air, naked shorting, and that they owe those shares. But how are they going to get the shares, Badge, if no one is selling, and if the CEO is buying back shares aggressively, and then more than that, depositing them in, call it, for safekeeping in DRS registers, so that the float is basically now teeny, teeny, tiny, but the cost to borrow is going up, and that these, these literal criminal entities owe millions of shares that they cannot get their hands on other than to break the law more. How's this going to affect me as an investor? Well, this is like a classic setup for either a insane short squeeze, or, which is also likely, there might be a massive cash settlement because these market makers actually can't afford it. They owe so many shares, and if the price does anything, even approximate GameStop stuff, they would actually be bankrupt or owe billions and billions of dollars. And so I want to be part of the ride. I got in at whatever was 80 cents a share, and fair value when all this stuff started happening is in the double digits, probably. That's like, we're talking about 1000x, if any of these things unwind. Last thing I'll say, Badge, is that what continues to draw me to this is I was looking at the filings. Now the filings are made public. The documents that GNS is filing are now court approved, and everything now is visible. And curiously, a couple of days ago, Palantir, as an example, started saying, we feel our shares have also been naked shorted, which is illegal. So it's kind of like the movement, so to speak, is being galvanized in the direction of trying to say you just can't openly break the law, man. Like if you can, or actually that has been happening, but if you could actually do that and everybody knows about it and the SEC knows about it and the government still looks the other way because it's too big to fail, then that's a massive, massive problem. And so I'm all right owning these on a kind of David versus Goliath principle. And you know what? If it goes to zero because the corruption is so entangled and it can't be fixed, then that'd be tragic and sad. And I'm okay dying, fighting the good fight. But I want to be part of this journey. I want to be part of the call of good guys trying to say, you just can't get away with this.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, if you, as an investor, like at least there is like a financial return element to your kind of the shenanigans thesis. It's not just like a moralistic stance. Because if you want to do something moralistic, I don't know, donate to like a legal organization or something.
No, that's right, Badge. But let me clarify, because I think this is a good point. I would not call this an investment. But what this is closer to, the upshot here is so massive that it's sort of like going into the casino and, having counted the cards at the blackjack table. And all of a sudden, the odds are sort of in your favor due to the risk reward. And you decide to take a massive bet because just the RR is worth it. But it's not investing. It's kind of, I call it opportunistic, timely way to try to make an insane amount of money off of a tiny little position. Because it's like, 0.5% of my portfolio. You would not want to necessarily go big with this. And then you let the chips ride. And as a bonus, you get to be involved in something that I think is a really, really important cause. So I'm cool with that. I'm cool with having a little bit of, call it fun and education and principle stances. And if I go up 1,000% on this, boy, that's so much more satisfying than winning a blackjack hand.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Look, fair enough.
So, time will tell. In hindsight, time will tell. I will say there's one account that I found whose YouTube channels I've been watching consistently now for several months at Wyckoff G. He has little French bulldogs as his mascot. He also runs a Discord, and a bunch of the GNS people, including people who really know the dark shadows of the market, you could tell they're professional market makers or whatever, they're involved. It's a good little community. If you want to learn more about all of this, I highly encourage you to follow his account and then make your way to the Discord. Monkey will say hi.
All right. So,
so wait, you said you nearly killed some people on the way back to try to make it in time for our recording slot.
I was making the monkey feel guilty because he kept me waiting for like 9 minutes at the start. Although I did. So Katrina and I rented a big 10-bedroom mansion in Somerset. So we invited like a whole bunch of our nearest and dearest friends. It's a group called the HQFs. It's our high quality friends. So we invited our high quality friends to, that's the name of the WhatsApp, by the way.
And that actually explains why Monkey did not get an invite.
Correct.
Monkey,
yeah.
What's my rating?
These guys are never a genius group. Right? They're too much quality in the group, don't garbage like that. Anyway, everyone came in as fun thing. We had an amazing time. Played Traitors. Let me talk about this because my mind was literally blown. And I'm even going to read you. So you're familiar with Traitors, the game, the concept?
No, I don't think I am.
Kind of like it's been like in the zeitgeist and the UK TV recently. Okay. And I watched like one season of Celebrity Traitors. It was actually very good. Essentially, like, have you played like Mafia or Werewolf, like those kind of social deduction games?
Okay.
Yeah, you're familiar with those, yeah?
I think so. Like where you get a card and somebody is like the villain and you got to figure out who the villain is.
Yeah.
Is that right?
There's like a sort of team, there's an unknown number, a couple of kind of traitors, bad guys, and then everybody else. And you kind of do stuff So, but it's a version of that, which is a bit more elaborate, and it can last over like multiple days. So we played it over like a 3-day weekend with a group of like 16 of us. And it was incredible. Like one of my buddies, Taji, ran it really, really well. And I really got into it. I genuinely, this is like, I love games. This was like the best game I've ever played in my life. This specific of this game, the social, everyone was really into it. Everyone played their roles really well. And there's a lot of like, like backstabbing and double dealing and
Yeah.
but probably
Wait,
no
Badge,
one thought.
can you clarify something for me? I just want to make sure I got this right. It's not a board game. You were sort of like play acting roles, correct?
Not even play acting, just like we're just us, like, So it happened I was like a faithful, which is like not one of the bad guys. And your job is to figure out who the bad guys are because they are murdering people every night. We'd have sort of 3 nights every day. So people get murdered and then you're trying to figure out like, where the hell were you at this time of this murder? And like, what's your excuse for like why this happened? And you're just having the weekend and you're just doing regular stuff, but you're trying to work out, who is being traitorous.
Oh my God. Monkey just had the most brilliant but obvious idea ever. Maybe a little update for our community is that our first inaugural Wall Street Wildlife meetup, we're playing around with potentially meeting up in Vegas at, I think we're moving the date forward a little bit to end of March, right? Of 26 to test the waters, see how many of our beasties would want to join us in the city of sin. What if we play, this would be one of the main...
Wouldn't work. No, anyway.
Why wouldn't it work?
It just wouldn't, you need more people than will probably again. And you need
How
more
many
time.
people do you need?
I'm not a trader, but like probably 15, something like that to make it work. But also
let it be a challenge to our community. Like, damn it, we need at least 15 of you so we could play this new brilliant game. And if you don't show up, then that'll be really sad.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, I don't think I have a great idea for Vegas, but I do think Vegas is a great idea.
As opposed to, oh my God, what kind of good ideas for Vegas are you to subject poor humble monkey to?
There might be treachery. There might be some treachery, but it won't be, fake treachery. It'll be real treachery. God knows what's going to happen in Vegas.
Oh God.
But anyway, let me just sort of, because we went down this rabbit hole of, this is an incredible game. I was one of the loudest voices in the game, but every time I kind of steered a decision, it was the wrong decision. And it got down to literally like the final 3 of us on the 3rd day and the very last vote. And I was certain we'd finally got there. Like we'd failed as a team of faithfuls throughout the entire game. It was TV worthy. And we got down to like the final 3, myself, and then Zen, who is like the son of the organizer and like a very close, like personal friend, 16-year-old guy, like super smart kid. And Nikki, one of our other like super close friends who've flown under the radar the whole time. And then me being the loudmouth. Everyone else has been like murdered or eliminated. And we know there's like a bad person amongst the 3. And I had Zen's number because I knew he'd been manipulating me the whole way. And then literally in the last 5 minutes, he made such a compelling argument. He completely turned me around, and I pivoted like what would have been the deciding vote. And and Zen like manipulated me to death, and he was the traitor the whole way.
Oh, you fell for it.
I got suckered by a 16-year-old in front of a big audience that's on video. So,
Badge.
What was really funny, like I got so into this game on like the 2nd night, I then made like a big diary and tried to remember as much as I could. And I went down the rabbit hole with Gemini while at like 2 a.m. lying in bed while Katrina's asleep, and then like strategized and came up with all this planning. And every time I gave Gemini like an update on the final day to say, okay, this was our plan for the next steps. And I did these things and I learned this and this is what happened. And Gemini basically roasted me so hard. And it said something like, this is like a doomsday scenario, like Luke, you are not only wrong, you are loud and you're wrong and you're like the traitor's greatest asset. So this is why they've kept you in the game, because you're an idiot, basically.
So Badge, if I could summarize for our listeners, you use GPT. You're call it quasi or professional poker player,
Right.
and you got out hustled by a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
here it is. Our community is taking your suggestions, your non-financial investment advice.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Several folk,
Beasties, be
including his
careful.
mom. Even his mom was like, wow, I need to now reassess the last 2 years because I thought I could read Zen like a book. And like he has lied so effectively in this game. So kudos. Yeah.
Right on. No, that's great. I'd love to learn more about this game.
One day we will have a way to play this game with the right size community. Anyway, actually, that is kind of a good segue to something I did want to touch on before we close the episode. Because Zen is one of the kids. He's now like pretty grown up in, the wider group of like friends' children that Katrina and I have encouraged to invest. And, we bought them either Rocket Lab or TransMedics this year. And so Sunil has suggested, you and I did an episode about a year ago, I think last December, investing for your children. And he said, well, that may be a good idea to recap that episode, maybe repeat that a little bit, maybe update the advice. I kind of like that idea. It resonates with me, maybe an episode on the run up to Christmas. Because if you're going to buy like a landfill gift for the kids in your family, maybe your own kids or, maybe your nieces and nephews or friends' kids. Okay, yeah, sure. If they're really young, you might want to buy them like a bit of landfill to entertain them. But if you really want to contribute to their future, buy them an investment, get their investment journey started. And so that episode was all about how to do that in a simple manner.
Yeah, Badge, we should definitely do it again. Sure, we'll repeat ourselves, but this is when the gift buying stuff happens. And if we could only get, say, 2 or 3 or 10 parents to really think deep about this particular way of giving, they will change their kids' lives forever, And so I say, yeah, we absolutely need to do that episode again. It's a lot easier than you think. I couldn't be more supportive of that. So Sunil, thank you for that suggestion. Yeah, let's do that.
And let me put a request out to everybody who's listening. So in that episode, we'll do it similar to the way we did last time, which is like, what is the absolute simple set it and forget it approach to get your kids' investment or, friends' kids' investment started? And then what's the more complex approach that could really start their journey as like a kind of like a stock picker to some extent? It's not necessary, but that's like, the extra bit you could do. Give us some questions. Like what should we talk about there? What kind of how to communicate it to your kids, or like how to find the kind of companies that might excite them, or, whatever it might be. Tell us what we can field in that episode to bring it to life after we do like the super simple 5 minutes. This is all you need to know bit.
Awesome. Cool. All right, Badge.
One more small thing. Like I learned this morning actually over breakfast, like the daughter, one of the girls in this group got her Rocket Lab shares, and now she's been putting aside like £5 of her own pocket money every week. And she's investing it. It's like she's adding it to her investment account. And now look, she's like, she's an investor. And she's like, she's 13, 14 years old. So, wow.
Absolutely
that's
brilliant.
That's it. That was the objective.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Badge, I think we're helping make a lot of young beasties, where does their journey start?
Their journey starts right here.
A reminder that the people on this program may hold positions in the companies that are mentioned. Buying and selling stock carries financial risk, which could include loss of capital. The views in this program should not be taken as personalized advice. Before acting on any of the information provided, listeners are encouraged to consult a financial or tax professional.